draft Ohtani, you get him as hitter and pitcher, could well be the steal of every draft. Hitting, stolen bases, yeah, he's going to do it. And it looks like from all reports until sometime in May, you're going to get Ohtani as a full-time DH. And sometime in May, if all goes to plan, you're going to get Ohtani once a week as an SP and at other times as a DH. He can pitch. Now, the problem why he's a 4, I haven't seen him pitch in over a year. I'm hoping, I'm supposing, I'm assuming, and you know what that can do. But I know what he has done when I've seen him pitch in the past. I know the kind of player is. He's on an improved Angels team. He's in a pitcher's park. And as far as pitching goes, when he returns, I like him as a 4, a tier 4 pitcher. And I think he could be, I think Ohtani could be drafted a lot earlier than where his ADPs are in rankings. Because I'm not the only person who's reading reports about when he's coming back to pitch. It's a long season. And if you have him on, especially in a league where you get him to go both ways. You start him at DH until he starts pitching. He can hit 290, 300. He can hit, 5 or 6 home runs a month? Sure. He can steal you 2 or 3 bags a month? Sure. Times 6 months in a baseball season, not bad. As a pitcher, really good when healthy. And he's in my tier 4. So we've talked about Ohtani, we've talked about Paddock, we've talked about Kluber, Syndergaard, Berrios. I love these, and Trevor Bauer. I love these guys in this tier. I love to get my hands on some of them. And what about this next kid? He started off career pitching in the bullpen. He's in the National League Central. 27 years old. Last year, if you will, somewhat of a breakout season until he was shut down late in the year. I'm talking about Brandon Woodruff, who at Brewers Park, a hitting paradise, had an ERA of just over 3 at 3.057. And in 70 innings at home, he struck out 93. That's 11.8 K per 9. And only a 1.9 walk per 9. He gave up 8 home runs, but it was Miller Park, guys. Come on. Everybody hits home runs at Miller Park. If you don't believe it, ask Christian Yelich. He had a 1.047 whip at home. And he's going to be looked to this year in his age 27 season to be the ace, of the Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff. Pressure? You betcha. Ability to stand up to it? You know it. Staying in tier 4. Boston Red Sox. Left-handed, great. Eduardo Rodriguez. 26 years old. And who'd have thunk at draft time last year, if I'd have told you last year, okay, you're going to get a Boston Red Sox left-hander who's going to win 19 games this year, how many people would have bet the ranch, it's got to be Chris Sale? Well, it sure wasn't Chris Sale. It was Eduardo Rodriguez. That's right. 19 wins in 2019. And looking at his pitching at Fenway Park in Boston, where he threw 105 innings and struck out 112 and had a 3.086 ERA at home, a 9.6 K per 9, the bugaboo for Eduardo Rodriguez is the walk. His walk per 9 at Fenway Park, 3.2. His walk per 9 away from Boston, 3.5. Can you imagine if Eduardo Rodriguez could harness all that ability and cut his walk rate in half? Now, he hasn't done that. I'm saying, what if he could? Think of how incredibly awesome he would be. Right now, he's a tier 4. He's young. He can get better. And I think he will. Also in my tier 4. I love these guys. I mean, to say these are tier 4 pitchers is just stinking incredible. I got to go ahead and give my little song here, okay? You ready? Tier 4. Mike Soroka! I love Soroka. And the only reason I put him in tier 4 and not in tier 3 is because he's had somewhat of a history of either injury or limited innings. And last year, guys, he threw 175 innings, which is the most he's ever thrown, and I'm encouraged by that because it only means to me they're building him up to a 200-inning season. The thing about Soroka is, unlike so many other pitchers, he hates pitching in Atlanta. Yeah, he hates it. Well, you say, Arnie, give me some proof of that. Sure. I thought you'd never ask. Look at his ERA, first of all, at home and away last season. Away from Atlanta, 1.551. That's right. Let's say that one more time, because it sounded good, didn't it? It sounded Koufaxian. 1.551. Gibsonian. Yeah. But then his ERA at home. It made you think of the days of the launching pad in Atlanta. 4.145. That's right. Almost 3 times more at home than it is or was on the road. So instead of being Koufaxian or Gibsonian, at home he was more, oh my gosh, Jack Billingham-ish? I don't know. You like that one, don't you? Where did I get Jack Billingham from? I mean, that just popped in my brain. But you know what I'm getting at, right? That's a different pitcher. His whip on the road under 1. His whip at home 1.3. Now, he's not a big strikeout pitcher. And he doesn't walk a lot. But he gave up more hits than he pitched innings at home by 5. He was 5 under there. On the road, he was 26 over. 98 innings pitched on the road and only 72 hits. So what we got to do with Soroka, we got to figure out how to let him pitch in Atlanta. New ballpark coming. Let's see how it goes. But until he gets more consistent with his home and away splits, he stays a tier 4 in my countdown of the pitchers for 2020. Not saying he's not good, not saying he can't perform, not saying he might not outperform some of the pitchers that are ahead of him, but that's why I have him ranked where I have him ranked. Now the next pitcher, it's not for lack of ability, and it's not for lack of production, it's for lack of doing it over a long period of time. And even last year when given the opportunity, Tyler Glasnow broke down and couldn't pitch. Now, Tyler Glasnow, 6'8", 26 years old. He appeared in April of last year to be like the next Cy Young. He had it going on. And when I tell you about his stats, you'll see why he had it going on. But I've got to put him in my 4th tier at this point because of the inability to show me he can pitch a complete season. His numbers, K per 9 at home at the Trop, 10.7. On the road, 11.7. His walk rate at the Trop, 2.6. A little bit high for my taste, but he makes up for it on the road by having a 1.6. Now, he only pitched, you ready, 60 innings, but in those 60 innings, he only gave up 40 hits. And in those 60 innings, he struck out 76 batters and only walked 14. And his away from the Trop ERA, I mean, wow, blow me away. This is an incredible Ron Guidry-ish number, or lower, 0.545. 0.545. You mean a half a run a game? Never seen one of those, but hey, we'll take it for what it's worth. So that means like he pitched one shutout, and the next game he gave up one run. Boy, can you imagine that over the course of a season? Now that's not going to happen. Tier 4. Show me you're healthy, Tyler Glasnow, and I'll move you up to another tier. But until you do, you remain in a sub-4 tier location. Now, guys, those are my... Well, I got one more. I gotta include this guy. I got a bunch of guys in tier 4. I just got them in a big circle around them. So when they fall off the board, I just knock out the circle. I got to include this guy because when I think about this pitcher and I look at the age that they're giving me, I just can hardly, it just seems like he should be a lot older, but he's not. So who am I talking about? Well, let's look. He's got a new dig. He's playing in Arizona, and he's 30 years of age. He's won 3 World Series championships. And last year he pitched for the San Francisco Giants. And of course it's Madison Bumgarner. And I love Bumgarner with Arizona. I love the fact they traded him within the division. He's only 30. And I know he's a much better pitcher in San Francisco. But the guy knows how to pitch. Come on. You don't win 3 World Series championships in the last decade. The most in the decade, of course. The most in this century, of course. The Giants. As bad as they are now, they've won 3 World Series in this century. And tell me another team who's won more than 3. He struck out 203 batters last year. And I think he's going to pitch great on this Arizona team. And I think Arizona is a playoff team, guys. As we get a little closer into spring training and I find out all the injuries, we'll talk about that in just a moment, I'm going to give you my predictions standing-wise. But I'm going to tell you, I got Arizona in the playoffs. Barring some injury, I got them in the playoffs this year. Now, with the Betts trade, I'm digressing, I know. I got to put the Dodgers winning the division again, but I think Arizona makes it. And I think a big part of that is Madison Bumgarner. Now, if he can pitch more like he did in San Francisco and less on the road, all the more power to him, right? Here's the thing. He walked 21 batters at home and 22 batters on the road last year. Sounds pretty even, right, until you look at the innings pitched. He threw 122 innings at home and only 85 on the road. So almost 40 innings more on the road, at home, and the same number of walks. So he's walking at astronomical rates on the road last year compared to home. His walk per 9, 2.4 versus 1.5 at home. His K per 9 exactly the same, 8.8, both places. And he gave up 15 home runs at home and 15 home runs on the road. Now, you got to consider that the ballpark he played in is definitely probably the best pitcher's park in Major League Baseball last year. He's not going to have that advantage, but I do know Arizona took measures with the humidors and those things to make it where balls flew out of parks a little bit less, which makes it a little bit better for Madison Bumgarner. So those are my top pitchers in my 4th tier. And I want to talk about on tomorrow, I want to go through the rest of the story. I want to give you the rest of the pitchers that have not been tiered, who I have sort of in my hodgepodge group. And there's a lot here I want to talk about tomorrow. We're going to get into, I'll tell you one of them. Like, for example, we're going to talk about A.J. Puck tomorrow. That's right, A.J. Puck. We're talking about Brendan McKay tomorrow. I'm not going to give you any more. I want you to tune in. Because I think tomorrow's show could well be the most important of the tiers, being it's my last tier for starting pitchers, because those are the pitchers that could very well be picked towards the end of a draft and could make such a huge difference in whether you make the playoffs or not this year in fantasy baseball. So that's tomorrow, our last tier of starting pitchers.